Astrology, and I'm here today to talk about cord cutting. So this is in preparation for the upcoming full moon in Aries, but really cord cutting can be used anytime you need to try to energetically detach from a person or a situation or even an object. Now, this particular technique I like to do during full moons, because full moons are about completion, they're about culmination, and it's a really good time under that illuminated moon, you know, the sun and moon standing across the sky from each other. It's just a really auspicious time for releasing, for letting go, for shedding, okay? But sometimes you might have to do these practices, you know, when it's not the ideal time, all right? So, but to ritualize this release of you from any energetic attachments is really pivotal in relationships if you're planning to move on from them, okay? In any relationship with anything, you know, again, even if it's an object, like, you know, say you're really attached to a car and you got to sell it, right? You might need to cut the cord with that object, right? And so the key here is to really detach. All right, so really detach from the situation so that you can see it with logic and gratitude, because that is the first thing you have to think about when you're going to be doing any cord cutting, letting go or releasing. You have got to go ahead and bless and give thanks, deep gratitude, genuine gratitude for whatever that person or object taught you, okay? For whatever purpose they served in your life. It's really important, okay? Now, so when you decide, let's say you have had conflict with a person and it's time to ritually cut the cord. I highly recommend taking some time to prepare for this, creating an altar of some type. If it's useful, you can find an object that represents this person. All right. And then find some space and time, burn a little sage or incense or use rose spray to clear the energies. And then just close your eyes and visualize this person, okay? Just visualize this person. And if you still feel animosity, grief, anger, all these difficult lower emotions, you might not be ready, okay? You might not be ready to cut this cord. But acknowledge those emotions, okay? Acknowledge those emotions. And if you feel comfortable moving forward, then begin to visualize the cord that connects you, all right? So what does it look like? What is the texture? What part of the body does it connect from you to them? All of this is rich information that can help you understand the connection that you have with this person or object or situation, all right? And then once you visualize that cord, you typically want to visualize taking a sacred blade of some type and cutting it, okay? Now, if you engage in the practice of the Ishta Devata, you know, our chosen form of the divine, you might bring your Ishta into the event. Imagine your Ishta there. And if you're not sure what that means, we'll get to that. I'll be sure to record a video on that. Remind me in the comments below if you're interested. But you can visualize your Ishta, whoever it is that you see as the most divine being and your embodiment of God in form. You can see them lifting that blade and bringing that blade down across that cord. And then I like to visualize the cord dissolving on their end into them and on my end into me. And then, if I truly want to sever that relationship, I start wrapping them in light, like golden white light, and I watch them rise up, turn away, and walk away from me until I can't see them anymore, okay? Now, maybe it's someone you still want to have in your life, but you still want to cut that energetic tie. You can still have them there and just see them smiling back at you and understanding what happened, okay? Now, I have some crazy stories about cord cutting. I've done this ritual many times with many people, particularly men I've dated or married. But even with friends and some really difficult relationships I've had, even with some family members, all right? I once had to visualize a cord. I was doing a cord cutting ritual with a master teacher, Kathleen Barrett, who I've worked with a lot. And it is nice to have a guide for these super emotional experiences. But the cord I visualized that was attached to this person was an umbilical cord. It was bloody and messy and pulsing and very much alive, you know? And it was just completely unexpected for me. I had a cord that I tried to cut from a man I loved very much, and I still love. Will always love. I loved him in a way like I love my kids, and I couldn't understand it because this person was not good for me, right? And so I would go to, every time I went to cord to cut the cord, and I tried it many, many, many times, it would go dink, just like it was metal, dink. My sacred blade, doing nothing, bouncing right off of that sucker. And so I finally, after many rituals, I was like, what do I do? How do I fix this? And my little voice was like, kiss it. And so I kissed it, and it was only through love. I couldn't cut it, I couldn't sever it, but I had to kiss it and let it dissolve. And then I once did it with a person, and I visualized the cord, and it was a giant tree trunk, like huge, like 50-year giant tree, right? And I was like, I can't. It's impossible to cut it. And so then I realized I was going to have to just live with this connection for a while. And the interesting thing was that relationship completely shifted. This person who I thought was gone from my life came back into my life in a completely different role. And it was like the concentric circles of the tree. It was like it demonstrated the growth of the relationship from something that was, I thought was one thing, that became something quite else. Kind of like you'd look at the acorn and look at the oak tree and be like, huh? So, you can, of course, use objects. Sometimes I use a selenite wand. Selenite's a lovely wand to use to ritually cut cords because selenite never needs to be cleansed. And, you know, anything that kind of grooves with you. Remember, you're the priest, you're the priestess. We're all holy beings. And you can conduct this type of ritual and have it have real meaning in your life and in the world. All right, so I hope this was useful and helpful. If you would be interested in some guided meditations, guided rituals like that, and cord cutting, drop a comment below. I would love to hear it. Thank you for tuning in. I hope your symbols are super positive for this full moon and all future ones. Namaste, my friends.